So a little bit ago, Nintendo released the long-rumored Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection on Switch, and plenty are pretty mixed on it. The controls in Galaxy are totally revamped, and the graphics look pretty as hell. Sunshine is now fully widescreen and looks fantastic, though it sadly doesn't have analog piss spraying support. Finally, there's 64, which has gotten a ton of criticism from fans due to it still being in 4x3, despite the Fan D compilation getting widescreen basically immediately. If you have a keen eye, you'd also notice the 64 port does have a few up-res textures, but other than that, it appears nearly untouched. Fans were quick to notice one change, more of an omission though, in the game's first trailer. When Mario threw Bowser off during his boss battle, at the end of the Mario 64 portion of the trailer, he shouted, "Bye-bye!" Now what's the big deal? Those of you who also grew up with Super Mario 64 DS shouldn't be too surprised at this, as this is one of the lines Mario shouts when throwing him in that version. Actually, in the original, there's two quotes that Mario will say, none of which are bye-bye. These include, but more commonly, this is probably the most famous misheard line in gaming history, infamously heard to be, "So long, gay Bowser." I'm pretty sure it's a Bowser or something, but a lot of people say it's King Bowser, which I just do not hear. Anyway, once September 18th rolled around and us Mario nerds got our disgusting, wretched hands on it, we were soon to discover that the famous backwards long jump glitch, popular amongst speedrunners, particularly in these two staircases here, was patched out. What gives? Did Nintendo purposely cut out our beloved gay insulting and game skipping? Well, technically no. The only change to the 3D All-Stars version was the higher quality sprites. The version they used for this port is actually over 20 years old, believe it or not. You see, this isn't an edit of the original, but instead being a Japanese-only update to Mario 64 released in 1997, known as Super Mario 64 Shindo Pak Tao version, or Super Mario 64 Rumble Pack version. The fanbase tends to just call it the Shindo version, so that's what I'll do. This obviously was an update to the game to add Rumble support, which was common in those days. Particularly, this reminds me of how the first Resident Evil was released like a million damn times to add Rumble, then it tied fans over for the sequel. N64 didn't have native Rumble like the PS1 DualShock controllers, but instead of making a new controller like Sony, they just made it an attachable, battery-powered tuner for the original controller. I always kinda liked that about the horrible-ass N64 controller. The back had a port to attach wherever the fuck. For example, most games didn't utilize this, but you can buy N64 memory cards that plug into the controller. How unique. I can only think of one other console to do that, the Dreamcast, and look how that ended up. There was a nifty little transfer pack so you can connect Game Boy games to the console, a microphone so you could scream at your console, and those are the only ones I own, so I'm gonna shut up now. Anyway, the Rumble Pack was kind of a big deal for its time. As far as I can find, the N64 was the first console ever to support it, starting with the game that it was packed with, Star Fox 64. So I understand releasing the most popular N64 game with the Rumble compatibility. Also worth noting, Wave Race 64 also got a Shindo version around the same time. The Shindo version released exclusively in Japan in 1997. From what I can tell, for the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console versions, Japan got the Shindo versions instead of the base game. Speedrunners for Mario 64 agreed not to use the Virtual Console releases so that Japan is in an equal playing field due to the lack of backwards long jump glitching. People online are bitching about this version being the one that appears in 3D All-Stars, but honestly I think this is huge. Think about it, guys. This game was exclusive to Japan for 23 damn years, and it is now getting fully localized in all sorts of languages. Isn't that insane? I get it, it's just a version of a Mario game. It's not like Mother 3 or Starfy 1 through 4 or any of the million Fire Emblem games that never got translated, or any of the other millions of games that Nintendo still hasn't localized, but that's just it. Nintendo never localized stuff after this long, so this is a huge deal. Anyway, in this video I'd like to go over the version differences one by one, so more people are aware. Special thanks to the cutting room floor for compiling all this stuff for my lazy ass. Let's start off with the least exciting change imaginable. Every regional version, except for the Chinese IQ player, has a different color for the trademark symbol. You can kind of use this as a quick way to tell what version you're playing, but I mean, that's kind of lame, I don't know. The NTSC and Japanese version is white, while Shindo is blue. In case you were wondering, PAL is this nice red and yellow tint color reminiscent of the beta HUD. Also, of course, the copyright year is updated. This is so fucking exciting, I know. The Mario Head title screen has a little graphic here in the bottom right corner of the original N64 Shindo version to let you know that it supports Rumble. And there's this cute little Easter egg when you press Z that brings up clones of Mario's face. Anyway, the Shindo version adds that stuff over. In all versions except for the original Japanese version, you could talk to NPCs with either A or B. In Japan it had to be B, which probably resulted in a lot of toad punching, but anyway, Shindo of course changed this. They also made how close you had to be to talk to the NPCs a little more lenient. Like, you don't have to be right up in their grill anymore. While I'm on the subject of shit that was in the US and EU versions, but not the JP version, but was re-added in the Shindo, did you know that the way the red coins sound was totally different originally? In the first Japanese release, every red coin collected in a stage made a flat sound. Of course, in the subsequent releases, each of the red coins made a higher and higher pitch of that sound until you got the last one and the star appears. I can't imagine red coin collecting being any different. Hey, while I'm at it, did you know that the original Japanese version had a totally different sound effect for the chain chomp? But you know about that shit if you're an English speaker. How about the new stuff that we don't have? In the original Japanese version, the painting for Jolly Roger Bay is just some bubbles. In the US version, this was changed to the sunken ship from that level. For some reason, that's the only version with that painting, as all of later releases, including Shindo and the DS remake, changed it to bubbles. Like I said before, the backwards long jump was patched out, but speedrunners discovered another way to skip the endless staircase, by wall jumping in this hallway. When Mario jumps on a tree, instead of facing the direction he jumps in, he now always faces the camera. This can be incredibly useful sometimes with the game's funky camera. Here's something I noticed when I played 3D All-Stars for the first time and it drove me nuts. For some unknown reason, the single and triple jump sound effects are pitched up slightly. Only my Mario nerd self would ever notice this without somebody pointing it out, and when my friend Eddie was in the room with me pointing it out, he said he didn't notice it. I thought I was going insane, but here it is on the cutting room floor site. I'm sane, I tells you, sane! So why did they take out the famous So Long Gay Bowser clip? Well, it's quite simple. Bowser's name isn't Bowser in Japan, it's Koopa. So they quickly replaced it with a clip of Charles Martinet saying bye-bye. But what did he say in the original Japanese version? Well, actually he didn't say anything. Just the other voice clip that plays in all versions. Here we go! The original Japanese version lacked a lot of the voice acting in the US and EU version. Just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna play them all here.
Hello! Okie dokie!
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I have baked a cake for you. Yours truly, Princess Toadstool. Peach.
And there you have it, friends. Besides some not so interesting shit like changing text to say both A and B instead of just A, when referring to talking to NPCs and other shit like that, that's all the changes I can find in the Shindo version. It's a huge deal to me that this version got released in English. I can only hope that Nintendo localizes more Japanese exclusive stuff in the future. It's agonizing being a Mother fan, I'll tell you what. Speaking of which, huge update! While I was working on this video, Nintendo announced that they'd be fully localizing Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light into English. This is a way huger deal than both Earthbound Beginnings and Mario 64 in the 3D All-Stars collection. This is a from-the-ground-up full translation with rollback features added and everything. Unfortunately, just like 3D All-Stars and Mario 35, it's only available until March 31st of 2021. You know, that's a day before April Fools. I think Nintendo's just fucking with us. Anyway, scummy business practices aside, I would definitely say that you should grab Fire Emblem if you have any interest in it. And show Nintendo that there is a market for this shit, man. I really think that an official translation of Mother 3 is in the cards someday. Thanks for watching my videos. Until next time, friends, I'll see you in the Mario Marathon. Oh yeah, and Final Fantasy VII House Part 2 is, it's cooking up. It's just gonna take some time, I'm sorry. Thanks for watching.